My name is Echelon3000, and this is the first in many videos of deck profiles for Master Duel. Master Duel's just come out, and the first season was up, and it has a highest ranking of Platinum 1. I managed to hit Platinum 1 this season, and this is my profile for the deck I did with Salamgreat. So to kind of take a look at the deck, it's a pretty straightforward list. Some of the history of Salamgreat. Salamgreat was one of the earlier Link decks in the TCG. When Links came out, they were just kind of used as regular extender tools. But Salamgreat was one of the first archetype specific Link decks that was powerful. The deck was actually so powerful that it ended up yielding a lot of hits to the deck, namely Gazelle and Circle, and then Mirage Style even being banned. Since Master Duel's come out, a lot of the cards are back, and even some are unlimited, so you can play more copies of it, and so you end up having a pretty powerful deck in Master Duel because of that. To run through some of the combos, the idea is that you set up a decent turn 1 combo where you end somewhere between +2 and +5 cards on your opponent. You kind of trade resources with them on their first turn, and then you try to win the game in the second turn. Let's go through the card by card now, though. In terms of the Salamgreat cards, you have your best honorary Salamgreat card, Flame Bufflero. If this card leaves the field, you can discard a Cyburst, draw 2 cards. Card is really good as part of a starter, gets you to more hand traps, also gets you to any sort of extenders you want to play. Very good card. You also have Foxy. Foxy, when it's normal summon, you can activate the top 3 cards of your deck, add a Salamgreat to your hand, and like many of the Salamgreats, you can meet a specific condition to special summon for the graveyard. This one is if there's a face-up spell trap on the field, you can discard a Salamgreat card, special summon, and then destroy a face-up trap on the field. Most times you don't activate the first effect, but you will activate the second effect to resummon it, because you can only activate one of the effects of Foxy each turn. And sometimes your opponent will have a field spell that you can destroy with it. That's great. Most times you'll just end up resummoning it because it's a summon. It's material. We get to the best card in the deck, Salamgreat Gazelle. If a Salamgreat monster is sent to the graveyard except Gazelle, you can special summon from the hand, and then on summon normal or special, you can send a Salamgreat guard from your deck to the graveyard. This is often the card you need to make your turn 1 boards powerful, because not only is it good at sending a Salamgreat card that then you could resummon if you need to, it's very good at sending the trap cards so that you can use your Link monsters to put them back onto the field. Very good. The actual best Salamgreat card in the deck is Spinny. Spinny, you can discard it to target a Salamgreat monster you control. It gains 500 attacking on a turn, and then if you just control Salamgreat, you can special summon this. This is the easiest material you can make out of the graveyard of the whole deck. It's very easy to get in the graveyard because you're always going to have a Salamgreat monster on the field, and it's very easy to resummon because you should always have a Salamgreat monster on the field. When you link this away, when you use this effect, it is banished, but it's important to note that when it's part of a XZ summon, it won't go to the graveyard, so it's important to keep that in mind. You have the tech cards in Falco and Jack Jaguar. Falco, when it's sent to the graveyard, you get to set a Salamgreat spell trap on the field. You can also return a Salamgreat monster to your hand and special summon it. It's important to note that if you target a Link monster and it does not go to your hand, this card will not resummon. So this is kind of a tech card that you play pretty much just in general as it's the worst Salamgreat card in the deck, but it's very good at recycling resources. Most times you won't use this, but it's good to have. Jack Jaguar is your main extender in the deck. If you can return a Salamgreat monster from your graveyard to your deck and then special summon it. It's the one you use to kind of end your combos most often. In terms of the just the general good cards, we're on 3 Parallax Sea. Parallax Sea is really good at extending your plays. It beats hand traps often. If you get hand trapped, but then you can still make a Parallax Sea, you can often win the game. Card's just strong. For the hand traps, we have 3 Maxi, 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Nibiru, in addition to 2 Called by the Grave. The most unorthodox card in here is Nibiru. It's not always good, but in a best of 1 meta, I found Nibiru to be good enough, but this is the one hand trap I would shave. The best hand trap in the deck is Ash Blossom, just for being Ash Blossom, but it's also good as a hand trap that you can regrow using your Sunlight Wolf, so good to play. The spells, we have 1 Harpy's Feather Duster. You gotta play it in a best of 1 format. There's too many times where you need to be able to clear a back row. You don't always draw it, but when you do it, usually is good. 2 Pot Desires to get us further in our deck, 3 Signet Mining to find the starter cards we need, the 1 Tech Field Spell, you end up, that's part of your first turn combo. It is the brick of the deck, but it's a must play. Will the Salamgreat is just a generic extender. Sometimes you search it. Most times you just have it. It's good, but it's not necessary to play. 3 Circle to search, and then the 2 traps, Salamgreat Rage. If Salamgreat Rage is either a Raigeki break, or it is if you have a Link monster that was summoned using Sylvan material, it's a Destroy 2 untargeted. Very good trap card. And Salamgreat Roar is a Solemn Judgment as long as you have a Salamgreat Link monster. These are the 2 cards that are end up most important to your first turn combo in order to survive. In the extra deck, we have a Mirage Stalio. Mirage Stalio is it's your MX Saber Invoker, it's your Wind-Up Zenmaity, you know, rank 3s that special summon for the deck are strong, and this card's no different. You can detach to special summon a monster from your deck. Also, if it is linked away, you can target a monster on the field and return it to hand. This is often what will help you break boards, because your opponent has to try to clear this card, and you can protect it very easily, and then if they don't end up clearing it, you can end up bouncing their whatever monster that can't be destroyed by battle to their hand and then go off that way. Very strong card. Abyss Dweller and Baguska are rank 4s that are just kind of tech plays. If you don't have the best turn 1 hand, you often can use Parallel Exceed to make one of these 2 cards. It's just a hedge against some decks. Very, very good to have. There are other techs that you could play, but these I think are the best ones. You have 3 Baylings. Baylings is the Link 1 Salamgreat monster. You use it to search the field spell to your hand. It also can be banished from the graveyard to protect a Salamgreat monster on the field. And that's also any Salamgreat card that would be destroyed. So if your opponent goes Lightning Storm on your full board and you have a bunch of face-up Salamgreat cards, you can use Baylings and protect all of them. Incredibly powerful card. It's your starter. It's the best card out of your graveyard. Just a must-play 3. You have 3 Sunlight Wolf. It's the Link 2 Salamgreat card. If you play this, basically, it's your main win con outside of just going for an access code talker. If a monster is normal summon or special summon to a zone, and based on the arrows, that could be your opponent's monster as well. It happens a lot. You can add a fire monster from your graveyard to your hand. That's how you pick up Ash or your Gazelle if it's your turn 1 play. And then if it was link summoned using itself as material, which is what the field spell does, you can target a Salamgreat spell or trap in your graveyard, add it to your hand. This is how you regrow your traps on the first turn, or get a circle if you need it. Incredibly powerful card. We also have 2 Heat Leo. Heat Leo is kind of a card you use to play through Disruption. When it's link summoned, you can target a spell or trap in your opponent's zone and shuffle into the deck. Just a good way to kind of out some of the weird spell and traps that your opponent will set. It's also just good against just a lot of tech cards in general. It also can then, if it's link summoned using itself, you can target a face-up monster field and a monster in your own graveyard and set the attack of it to this. So if you used a Maxi or an Ash, you can set their attack incredibly low over their unbeatable thing and then attack over it. Not the most important, but definitely valuable to play. And then we have our winning lines in Update Jammer, Splash Mage, Transcode, and Access Code Talker. Update Jammer, if it's linked away into a monster, that monster gets 2 attacks. You often give it to Access Code Talker. So Access Code Talker will end up being a 4300 that can attack twice in an open board, 8000 lethal. Splash Mage and Access Code and Transcode get us to that point, and these are very often all used in your second turn plays. So this deck is super consistent. Your first turn, even through interruption, is often remarkably similar. There's basically levels of how far you'll get into your combo. The best combo ends with a Sunlight Wolf, a Mirage Stalio, a Jack Jaguar, and then a Gazelle in your hand with a trap set. That's your best first turn combo, because you often are like +4 at that point. But there are stages in between that are also fine to have in terms of breaking boards. You will be able to win most games with setups like this, and even through interruption, you're going to have a playable enough setup where your second turn is going to be good. The deck is also, like I said before, resistant to a lot of hand traps. Even outside of Nibiru and sometimes Maxi, you can often build a fine board where you don't play too hard into the hand traps and your turn isn't totally broken. Maxi obviously will end the turn, but even if you give them a +1, that's usually not good enough if you have the right amount of setup in your hand. It's very good at playing through Effect Veiler. It's very good at playing through Ash, and if you're also playing the Call by the Graves and sometimes even cross out designators, the hand traps are totally irrelevant to you. You just can build your board every turn on the first turn. The cons of the deck, it's not the strongest turn 1 setup. In terms of the amount of attack power you put on the field, Mirage Stallion is a 2,000, Sunlight Wolf is 1,800, and Jaguar is also 1,800. Not the strongest board in comparison to some of the boards that other decks put up. The Disruption is very powerful, but you're not putting a ton of damage on the field unless you're going to Access Code Talker. It also is weaker in a best of 1 meta, as there's a ton of playable decks that you can run to on the ladder. It's often hard to have a deck like this that is so based on the tech that you play to be good in every single matchup. The last run we went on a deck was an 11-1 run where we often played against no more than 4 or 5 different deck types, and that was very good for the deck. But if you're end up playing against a wide variety of decks, you're going to have a harder time actually being able to keep up with the different angles of attack that they'll approach. And that's just going to be the case in a lot of archetype-specific decks in this best of 1 format until best of 3 or something else comes out. One of the reasons I really like this deck is that for a new deck on Master Duel, it's not very expensive. Most of the cards in your deck are SRs, with the exception of the Link monsters, which you don't even necessarily need the Heat Leos. They're good to have, but in terms of like a must-have Salamgreat UR card, it's Sunlight Wolf. The rest are SRs and rares, and then you end up are incentivized to build a lot of the UR cards anyway. And that's the other reason the deck is good, is because it allows you to farm for your hand traps. All these cards you want to be making just for any deck in Master Duel at this point, and so this is a good deck to build when you don't want to put a ton of money into URs, but you want to still be able to get your hand traps. It's a great start deck for that. It's also a really good deck to learn how to use the hand traps you're getting. You're crafting these Naxies, these Ashes. You really learn what are the cards you're supposed to negate with the hand traps and when you're supposed to go off. You have to be proficient in using the hand traps at the right time in order to make your turn 1 boards resilient to whatever the opponent's doing. In general, I think the deck is a really good starter deck. I think it was a really fun deck to play for my first seed on the season. I'm glad I hit Plat 1 with it, and I think that I think it's going to remain a contender in the formats of Master Duel for the time to come. Thanks for watching the video. There's going to be more content like this coming onto the channel. If you like it, please like and subscribe, and you can also come watch me on Twitch at Echelon 3000 on Twitch. I play a lot of matches, I grind a lot of different decks, and I try to test out different variations to see what's going to be the best for any given time. So thanks for enjoying the video. Let me know if you have any comments or questions or suggestions for future content, and otherwise, have a good day.